The purpose of these services that we provide is to make sure that the cultural sector and the film industry is contributing to the economy and it's sustainable in the long terms in terms of funding itself. So the practices that we promote is something that also encourage the self-sustainability or self-sufficiency within the projects that we support.
I wanted to understand where you, as the Investment Development Director for Culture at the Ministry of Investment, where do you fit into this?
Absolutely. So the Ministry of Investment acts as a catalyst to facilitate investments throughout the kingdom through economic sectors. Amongst them, of course, is culture, creative industries, and most importantly, the topic of discussion today, the film sector. This allows us to have coordinated promotion, development of investment opportunities, development of incentives, removing any barriers to financing, regulatory enhancements, all the while leveraging existing platforms that we have, like our Invest Saudi platform, where we have over 1,000 opportunities that are published, most of which have at least high-level feasibility studies. We also leverage our global networks. We have international offices globally. We also work with our key stakeholders in the kingdom and our partners, Film Commission, Ministry of Culture, the Cultural Development Fund, Film Al-Ula, Niyom, and more, and supporting everyone achieve all of the investment targets that they have.
So everybody on the stage will have their plans and they will come to the Ministry of Investment to make them work? Is that how it works?
We can support in any development of investment opportunity. We can support in further developing incentives, removing any barriers to investments, etc., whether it's with the government or with the private sector as well.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Thank you. So, Najla, lovely to see you again. You were at the Red Sea making lots of announcements in December, and now I think those announcements have come to fruition. So, can you explain how the Cultural Development Fund fits in? Because you're not like a direct funder of projects, are you? You're sort of a facilitator. Can you explain?
Yeah. Hi. So, we at the Cultural Development Fund think of ourselves as a financial enabler for the cultural sectors that we're responsible of, and on top of it comes the film sector, considering how progressed it is in Saudi Arabia. And we provide either financial or non-financial services to any of the beneficiaries working within the cultural sector, projects, individuals, non-profit. The purpose of these services that we provide is to make sure that the cultural sector and the film industry is contributing to the economy and it's sustainable in the long terms in terms of funding itself. So the practices that we promote is something that also encourage the self-sustainability or self-sufficiency within the projects that we support. We provide loans, we provide investment opportunity, many of which are not necessarily direct in terms of us providing it to the beneficiary or the end beneficiary, but we have financial partners. The purpose of doing that is to also educate the financial system of how the creative system works, how the people within the film industry work, how do they do their numbers, the books, how the projects are structured. By having partnerships with banks, for example, and fintechs to provide loans, and or being an investor in a fund that invests in the film industry, similar to the announcement that we announced this morning. This will allow more cash to be accessible to the film industry. So I can summarize what we do is we're making sure that there is cash and probably more cash to the people who need it, and that it's accessible, and that is contributing to the development of the film industry as well as to the economy of Saudi Arabia in return.
So you announced earlier in March, you announced the launch of the film sector financing program, which is what is a $233 million envelope. So where are you at with that now? Because it's two parts, isn't it?
Yes. So earlier in March, in December, we announced our intention to launch the program. In March, we announced the first part of it, which is the debt or loans program, with a budget of about $154 million to be provided through loans. And this is available on our website. People can just log in and check the requirements, the eligibility criteria, and apply through our financial partners that we have this portfolio with. Ticket sizes are different kind of projects, but it goes into not just film production, but also supports the distribution projects. It supports the market players. So if you are a company that works in sound and light, if you're in makeup, if you're in costumes, if you are any activities below the line, then we're also in need of that in Saudi Arabia. So we allow or we provide these kind of financing options for the market players in these areas. The locals and international are treated the same, except a requirement for the internationals to have offices in Saudi Arabia. That's the only thing that we differentiate between the two. Other than that, it's the same requirement. Today, we announced the second part, which is the investment. We announced with Mythic Capital and Ru'a Ventures an agreement in principle that to establish a fund worth $100 million, of which $40 million is contributed or invested through the Saudi Cultural Development Fund. This fund aims to support or invest in projects that are working in Saudi or with Saudi local and international same.
Yeah, so I'd like to, with any area that is new to any industry, what you sometimes find is that the economies of scale are not there. And with economies of scales not being there, you can sometimes find that some areas are inflated prices. And what we didn't want is for the Saudi Film Commission rebate to almost be cancelled out or to be reduced by the cost of production in the first place, right? We also didn't want it to be the case that any investment we were making as the Royal Commission was immediately going out of the door. So with regards to incentives, we do incentivise quite strongly. We will pay really close attention to how that incentive is being used. So ideally, we incentivise in a way where those funds are going back into the local economy and where we're not inadvertently inflating the cost of production by incentivising heavily. So it's a real balance. The other aspect with incentives and rebates is almost sort of productions. The film industry is quite risk adverse. So how do we make that as transparent and as fast as possible? So that's a really key thing we've been working on as well.
And just really last question, and I'm sure everybody in the room knows this, but how do you contact Alula? How do you make an application?
Yeah, so in terms of contacting Alula, you use good old Google, or you come in, or anyone in this room would contact myself. I've been very high tech. I've got a one of those lanyards that has all my details on, but it's filming in Alula. You will have a little form to fill out, and you'll hear back from us really quickly.
Hi, I'm Josefina Lopez. I'm a screenwriter producer. I wrote a movie called Real Women Have Curves. And pardon my ignorance, I come from the US. We have all these stereotypes, of course, of Arabs in Saudi Arabia, and I'm sure this is also why we're here. But what accommodations have you made for female directors? And also, are you very open to women's stories as protagonists?
Okay.
Can I go ahead? So in terms of accommodations, I would say it's probably sort of worthwhile looking at the makeup of this panel to get a sense of what film looks like in Saudi. It definitely is an open playing field. I think one of the advantages of maybe coming in slightly later into the industry is that there has been an expectation that there is female talent above and below the line, and that's been expected and really well received. Also on the business and policy and government side of things as well. I think with anywhere internationally, we'll see that quite often female creatives, female talent benefit strongly from mentors. One of the things that we're doing specifically within Alula is a program called Alula Creates, which has a number of announcements that are happening this week, where we are pairing sort of tier one international talent with sort of local up-and-coming talent, and also experienced talent domestically as well. So we really look at things from a development, grassroots perspective. How do we enable and support? With regards to how do we support female filmmakers more on their experienced ends, like yourself, you'd be aware that the sort of lead film for this festival has a female director, and that was in part funded by the Red Sea Foundation of Saudi. They have a very specific mandate around supporting female talent, not just in Saudi, but beyond. They do specifically a lot of work in the Middle East and Africa. There's quite a strong focus on Middle East and Africa and supporting there, but also internationally. So I could almost controversially say that if I was myself a female filmmaker, I would maybe be able to access as much or more meaningful support in Saudi than I would be able to in the UK.
I would also offer you a first-hand experience we have in the room here. Hajar, please stand up. Hajar is a Saudi filmmaker, female Saudi filmmaker. Probably you get to have a conversation with her and ask her directly how it is to be a female filmmaker in Saudi Arabia.